she has been defending herself to no end, but she won't actually show her training method on how she trains these horses to be hobble broke because it's abusive. Welcome back to a new video. In today's video, I have boxes everywhere from moving, herpes on my face, stressful as shit situation, and still somehow a will to live. It's probably because I'm getting ready to trash someone. It's probably also because I have a joint that I'm gonna smoke after this that I've been really looking forward to all day. So who are we talking about today? We are talking about Ava.
I know everyone thinks that I'm just this bubbly little Dumbo, but I'm not. I know what's going on. I hear you talking about me. I see you. I see you.
Ava is the lucky lady who was sent to me probably 50 fucking times over the last couple days. I already know she's gonna make a response video because half of this girl's channel is responding to hate comments. So Ava is a 20-year-old TikTok-er person? I don't know. What are they called? She is a bright, bubbly, in no way insecure, top of the line horse trainer.
Too egotistical to admit it? Wow, you really got me. Woo!
You might be wondering, why am I talking about this random girl on TikTok who has like 17,000 followers? Except she's probably gonna get a lot more followers from this video, so you're welcome in advance for the audience members that I bring you. You're welcome. When I first found Ava's TikTok, I honestly didn't have much of a problem with her. I was like, oh, this chick is, you know, kind of not really a great trainer, but it looks like she has some methods that are maybe a little too aggressive for me and my horses, but maybe they work for her. I didn't find her initial stuff to be abusive at all.
So this mare was actually in a few accidents like a couple years ago with her past owners. So she's kind of sensitive, doesn't really like anyone on this side of her. So I just do a lot of flag work and touch her. So with this horse, whenever you just touch her butt, she tends to like grab herself.
You know, there's a few videos of her doing some reining. There's a few videos of her doing some desensitizing with some flags and some bags with rocks in them. Not really my thing, but I didn't find anything overall wrong with it. So it didn't really bother me that much. And she claims to work with professional trainers and be a professional trainer. She makes it very clear to people that she's a professional trainer and you should listen to her advice, and that she's basically not going to take critiques or criticism from anybody.
Disclaimer, this actually belongs to the reigning cow horse trainer I work for. Most trainers that are legit do this type of stuff, so. But if you do it to mine, expect a clap back because it's my page, not yours.
She gets really insecure, that's my point. Oh, excuse me, she's not insecure. Because obviously, when someone says they're not insecure about something, they're for sure not insecure about that thing. But then I fell down the rabbit hole, and trust me, it was pretty fucking long. I first came across her lay down technique, which to me was kind of questionable. I was like, you know, I'm not really a fan of forcefully teaching a horse to lay down. I think there can be some negative effects to this. I think that it can, you know, kind of be dangerous, but whatever. I didn't think it was abusive. I didn't think there was much of anything wrong with it, just apart from the fact that she said,
this mare is Beduino bred, and if you know anything about horses, you understand how hard these horses are to train because they're just not wired correctly in the head.
This horse was Beduino bred?
Okay.
Like, what does that have to do with anything? I hate it when people hold their horse's ancestry over their current horse's behavior, and they automatically assume that it's gonna be a bad or psychotic horse just because its genealogy says that, oh, my horse's dad was bad and crazy and whatever. But honestly, at the end of the day, she's only saying that to try to sound more impressive. She's like, oh, look at me, I'm getting this horse to lay down forcefully, but it's still laying down. And this horse was Beduino bred. I know you don't have any Yelp reviews. I will go on Yelp and review you tonight, 5 out of 5 stars, because you got a Beduino bred horse to lay down. Ugh, love it.
This to me is kind of a hugely unnecessary thing to actually do to a horse, to train them something like the lay down when there are other ways. I think it's important to note that this type of way to train a horse to lay down using a hobble rope and another rope attached to the head, it is extremely stressful for the horse, can be. You could also kill a horse. If a horse was to rear, flip over backwards, the handler could also get killed. I can think of so many reasons not to do it this way. So with all that kind of said and out of the way, I'm just going to show you some of the techniques that I've used to teach my horses to lay down.
I came across some more suspicious things when I noticed that basically half of her channel was her in her tack room that's not actually her tack room, with like bridles that were old as shit. Like half of these bridles, I was like, ew, why do you use those? Like buy some new ones, you hoarder. Everybody was bothered by all of the, crazy psychotic bits that she had. It looked like some BDSM shit that I'd be into, and I was kind of here for it, except for the fact that it was being used on horses, so that was a bummer.
Least amount of pressure, tallest port, widest port, turn and burn, spade, longest shank.
Hey, stop!
People really had a problem with her using all of these bits because some of them really were, like, on a real note, pretty disgusting looking. A lot of people actually don't know this, but I've said this many times because a lot of people seem to think that I'm 100% against bits, and that's not actually true. I really don't have a problem with a lot of bits. My only thing is I do think they're inherently invasive because they go in the mouth, and I also think that it bothers me when I hear people say that their horse needs a bit. But otherwise, I think there's a lot of bits out there that are, not abusive. I think that there's plenty of ways to use bits in non-abusive ways. However, these bits that she's showing are like disgusting, and she justified it because she was getting a lot of hate from a lot of people, which is why she filmed not one, not two, but 3 fucking videos justifying all the bits that she has because so many people were like utterly disgusted with them.
My favorite, we have some spades, and we just add clips on the ones on top, and we literally have everything. This is just a mild correctional bit to a really tall cathedral bit. We have ones that have prongs on it. This is one of my favorites, little copper roller.
I think what people miss most about snaffles is 1 pound of pressure from you puts 1 pound of pressure in the bit. As when you have a shank bit, it's 1 pound of pressure from you is probably like 10 pounds of pressure in the bit. So you barely have to do anything. With snaffles, you have to have more contact.
What? What are you like saying? What are you saying there? If you apply 1 pound of pressure in a snaffle, it's gonna be lighter than a 1 pound of pressure on a shank, which would be 10 pounds of pressure in the horse's mouth versus 1 pound with the snaffle in the horse's mouth. And most people don't have to like hang on their horse's face, which is hilarious to me because she kind of behaves like if you ride in a snaffle, it's 1 pound of pressure and you're going to be putting 10 pounds of pressure because you're going to be riding with a heavier hand for more control, which just goes to show you that this girl thinks that you get control from a bridle and from a bit, which is a pretty bad habit for a trainer to say, versus if you were actually a good rider and had soft hands but kept light contact and it was 1 pound of pressure on the reins, 1 pound of pressure in a horse's mouth with a snaffle. I don't know, that's just me, that's just my opinion. I thought that was kind of a stupid argument, but let's go on because Ava's got so many fantastic other points and you definitely want to be here for this professional trainer.
Please just leave me alone. I don't think you're gonna change my mind. I like my bits.
4 sheets to the wind and 2 shots later, I came across her flanking video. And then I really started to get mad.
This mare decided to buck me off yesterday, so I'm flanking her today. Flanking, you're making them buck on your own terms. It's not their idea, it's yours.
I didn't necessarily consider this abusive, but I think that it's horrible that she's promoting this as an anti-bucking training tactic to other people on TikTok who probably don't know any better and actually believe that this girl's a professional trainer. She basically tied a rope that tightens around this horse's flank and told people that this horse had bucked her off without showing any previous evidence or video footage that this horse actually does have a bucking problem. So nobody actually knows if this horse really does buck or if she's just doing this to kind of torment the animal. But let's take her for her word, because we know that her word is the most valuable thing ever and that she's a truthful person. It's still not okay to flank a horse and say that you're gonna make them buck on your terms, which once again, can we just talk about this for a second? So many rodeo people who behave like their horses are wild and they're bucking broncos, they're not. Like, they literally just tie a tight cinch around their flank and that's what gets a horse to buck. The way that you train a horse to stop bucking is not by getting them to buck on your terms and just getting them like used to being flanked. That's not how you stop a bucking situation, because a horse is gonna be bucking when you're riding them when you don't have a strap around their flank. So how are you gonna solve that? Because if you're just gonna get a horse used to being flanked and to stop bucking when it feels pressure around its flank, how does that solve your bucking problem when you're riding? Because first of all, horses learn from release of pressure, and she demonstrates in a second video that she releases the pressure, but she didn't demonstrate that at all in the first video. So I think she was only saying that in the second video because she knew she fucked up in the first video and didn't actually release pressure, which is how horses learn in the first place. Anyway, I think at the end of the day, she just pissed off her horse. She was trying to say that the horse did well in training because afterwards it was licking its lips and stuff. It was licking its lips when you finally released pressure and you stopped yanking on its flank. And it was like, oh, thank God this bitch is done. Now I can leave the red room. The way that you know your training is working is when you're actually training or riding a horse and during the training process, they're relaxed, licking their lips, chewing, stuff like that. But that's not happening. That didn't happen when you were stressing your horse out by pulling on its flank. A lot of people were concerned about rope burn, which is really valid because the rope tightened when she was pulling on it. You know, and she explained in another video that it wasn't causing rope burn because the rope wasn't moving, but then went on to say that all the rope does is it tightens.
In the flanking, it does not hurt the horse at all. The rope does not move around her skin, so there's not going to be a rope burn. It's just tightening in place.
Tightening is friction, according to science. So, you know, friction causes rope burn when you have a rope there and you're tightening it and it moves because it's being tightened. So science pretty much disagrees with you, but you know what? We already know that Ava's smarter than all scientists out there. Before I move on, I want to firstly address how you do deal with bucking problems. When you're riding a horse and they start bucking, the number one way to deal with it is to pull their head all the way in. It disengages their hindquarters, it makes them do extra work, and you circle them.
Then I'm going to go to the right, and again her ears are just straight back, her tail swishing like crazy. So you want to make sure she's soft on the ground before you get under saddle, flexing both ways. I give her a chance to go forward, she bucks. So I'm going to pick up the inside rein, soften the nose, and move that hip. It's very hard for a horse to soften their nose, move their hip, and buck.
Horses buck, horses rear, horses bolt, and that's just something that they can do. And I say it pretty much every week. Rather than say, how can I make sure that the horse doesn't do it, how about the question, how can you be the rider that can handle what the horse does?
When you thought it couldn't get any worse. It's like every 50 Shades of Grey movie and how it gets worse as the sequels go on. But you just love it and you want to be there, you want to be along for that ride.
Hannah.
Christian.
Now we have hobbling.
This is just desensitizing before getting on. This colt only had one other ride on him. I already know this is probably going to cause a riot. He has hobbles on. It's just a safety precaution we take.
So Ava claims that hobbling a horse is really good for starting colts, horses with problems, but she doesn't actually showcase her supposedly training horses to be hobbled, probably because it's a pretty terrifying process. I want to briefly mention that there is nothing wrong with hobble training. There's many benefits for hobble training a horse. However, I personally don't believe that you should be hobble training young horses when you're first starting them because it can cause an extremely stressful situation. These horses already don't know anything. And my biggest problem with hobbling is dangerous, and there can be a lot of things that go wrong, a lot of ways that horses can be easily hurt. Hobbling should only be left to professionals to teach horses. It should not be done by amateur people who think that they know what they're doing, and it definitely should not be done to young colts or horses that already have problems. Hobbling should only be done to horses that are already trained, already have a good foundation, and already pretty developed in their training to understand to make the process safer. Horses fucking hate being hobbled. It's really stressful, so much more dangerous than flanking. Normally when you first put hobbles on a horse, they have an extreme risk of getting seriously injured for fear of freaking out, okay? My horse can step on his fucking lead rope and get freaked out just from being stuck in that position. You're literally forcing a horse to be in a very insecure fight or flight situation. And oh my god, one of the best things that she said is she's like, well, I already trained this horse to be hobble trained. How the fuck did you do that?
People are saying I'm abusing my horse. If I was abusing her, I definitely would not post it.
Honestly, if her hobble training method was not abusive, I guarantee you would be posting videos, because she's been getting so much hate from people telling her that what she's doing by hobbling these colts and horses with problems because she can't actually train them is abusive, and she has been defending herself to no end, but she won't actually show her training method on how she trains these horses to be hobble broke. I guarantee you that it's not pretty. I guarantee you that her hobbling horses is a total fucking shit show, and that's why she's not posting videos of her putting hobbles on a fresh horse, because that horse is freaking out, falling over, having the worst time ever, being put in a very stressful situation that's unnecessary. You're literally admitting to not being able to actually train a horse and cheating by hobbling them. Because going back to the beginning of the rabbit hole, the beginning of the rabbit hole, she was forcing a horse to lay down as her lay down tactic using a rope. And that's because she can't actually teach a horse how to lay down. She has to force the horse to lay down using a rope. That's just my take on her flanking and hobbling horses. I think that she is hiding a bunch of shit, because she literally said, if I abuse horses, I wouldn't post videos of it.
If I was abusing her, I definitely would not post it.
Yeah, because you're not posting videos of it. Like, we know that shit's happening behind the scenes if you're literally willing to show this and this on your TikTok, bitch. Like, we know other shit's happening. And like, if she does, because I guarantee you she's gonna reply to this, I guarantee you this bitch is gonna post a video of a horse that's already been pre-hobble trained and be like, see, look at how easy this horse is. So desensitized. Like, shut up. We already know, like, we've seen horses that have been put in hobbles, and it's a total shit show, and it's really dangerous. She gets so offended. I love it. I love it so much. Oh my god. She gets so offended by every little thing anybody says about her, and then says, well, I have thick skin, it doesn't bother me, say whatever you want, I love the haters.
Even from the haters, I appreciate you.
Do you? Do you really? Because if it honestly didn't bother you, why the fuck are you spending so much time trying to justify your actions and defend yourself against people who don't like you? My point at the end of the day, I have a hair in my mouth. I don't think a lot of what she does is abusive. However, I think that she has some really poor training tactics and techniques. But let me dive in a little bit. She's only 20 years old. She doesn't need to go kill herself. She has a life. She has a purpose. I'm not trying to send her hate. I'm just trying to kind of shed a little bit of light so that way people don't actually listen to her training techniques. And maybe she'll learn in the future that these training techniques don't actually work. You know, people can redeem themselves. I said and did really stupid shit when I was young. So don't go cancel her. She has every right to respond to this video. She has every right to defend her training methods, even though some of them are abusive. Don't get me wrong, she did not come up with these training methods, so don't go blaming her. She is just regurgitating what some other trainer who uses those abusive training methods has told her and showed her how to do. This is the only way she knows how to train horses. She's learned this behavior from other people that she's been around. She's only 20. She didn't fucking invent this training method. Equestrian shirt. We also have the hats and many other collections available. Go pick those up. That link is down below. I also want to briefly say to everybody that I do post exclusive vlogs, equestrian, animal videos on my Patreon. So thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed to me there. You also get 10% off all the time of Raleigh and Link clothing. And I do answer personal messages and questions that you guys have. I did also re-upload all of my 1-2 mini series on my Patreon because there was a little bit of a mishap that happened with YouTube, and I won't be able to publish those again for a little bit once they're reviewed by a YouTube rep, so that way my channel doesn't get deleted for having a marijuana video, whatever the fuck. It's stupid. But speaking of marijuana, I'm about to go smoke a joint and have the best night ever. I hope Ava does too. Love you, bitch. Also, massive thanks to Coldest Water for sponsoring this video. Absolutely love them. That link is down below as well, so go check them out. And I will see you guys in my next motherfucking video. Bye, bitch. Woo!